Hi, welcome to the recording of the Weaning In Dry Times webinar. This webinar was presented by Megan Rogers from Sheep Smart Solutions on Wednesday the 12th of December 2018. This is clip 1 of 9 and covers managing merino weaners, managing mortality and examples of the impacts of poor weaner management.
The information that I'm going to present to you today is a compilation of best practice weaner management as well as some drought management material. So on to my next slide. So basically we're managing these weaners. How are we going to go about that? And I guess, it's no secret. Everybody knows that managing merino weaners isn't particularly simple. The extent of them being a problem varies vastly depending on location, depending on season, feed availability, etc., and plenty of other mitigating circumstances. But I guess the target that we're looking for is somewhere around 95% weaner survival, and in a lot of instances people can achieve that. I guess the sheep wheat zone of Australia is probably the most consistent in high rates of weaner survival. Our further west and more sparsely populated areas where we're running sheep typically in larger mobs probably sees lower weaner survival, and some of the higher rainfall areas can have some sort of ups and downs, I guess, as well. Basic factors leading to mortality is really a couple of things. It's management and nutrition. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this part of the talk. I'd rather get down to the more practical elements of weaner management. I will provide you with a little bit of the results from some local, fairly local research to here. But interestingly, we had a workshop last week that I was at where we weighed some weaners, and the information that we got from those basically mirrored the information that came out of the research. So I don't think it really matters where you are. There's some good messages to take out of some of that. I guess that little picture of those weaners there, I certainly know that it's been a while since I've seen pasture like that. So, and no doubt there's many others that are seeing a lot more of a red landscape. And I guess I do want to also talk about the recommendations to try and limit mortality and improve production from weaners. Our weather portion are an important part of our sheep flock as well. And if we can work on trying to, work with those if we're going to be turning them off, or if we're going to keep them as wool cutters. As I said, we've got a variable level of weaner mortality throughout the different areas in Australia, and it comes about from nutrition management, how much input we can put into those animals in terms of labour and monitoring. But over time, there's not been a massive improvement in weaner mortality rates, and it comes down a lot to seasonality and how vulnerable those animals are in our flock. The last point on my slide here about weaner mortality being estimated to cost $188 million nationally is a reasonably significant cost. It's the fourth largest cost to the Australian sheep industry is weaner ill thrift. So not so much weaner mortality, it's ill thrift. And, to prevent those losses is merely 36 million. So in terms of investing to get some better outcomes, there's certainly a good case to invest in keeping those weaners going and getting better productivity out of them. Generally, the larger the mob, the higher the mortality, and the lighter 25% of our weaners are the ones that are at the greatest risk. So there's a message there in terms of understanding who's who in the mob and how we might go about managing those animals, particularly the smaller, more vulnerable ones. We know that what goes in their mouths, what they're eating, is really a massive, it's the key determinant of weaner performance. And indeed, depending on internal parasite challenges, etc., again, it does come back to what they're eating and what they're with regards to the performance of that animal and their growth rates. One thing I would like to say in this introduction is early intervention and astute management is really the key to optimising the performance of those animals. And when I say early intervention, it's about having a look at them in the lead up to and during the weaning period, and then in the weeks immediately following weaning will help you really set those animals up for a lifetime of productivity. In terms of the impacts of poor weaner management and poor weaner performance, and season, I know, is probably puts more challenges ahead of just a normal season, particularly when it's so dry and things are not going your way, the cost of feed being as high as it is. But if we've got less weaners or we've got poorer performing weaners, our sheep sales are going to be down. We can expect a decreased rate of genetic gain because we've got less animals to select for in our self-replacing flock. Poor weaner weights results in lower conception rates on their first joining as maidens, and that's assuming that you're joining them as a hogget rather than as a lamb. But certainly putting some growth targets around weaner growth will help you get as many of the maidens that you join in lamb as possible, and quite often we do find that the lower reproductive rate comes from just being light at joining. In terms of lower wool quality and quantity, you can expect less wool, but importantly the quality is probably one of the bigger setbacks that you'll get in terms of your wool check, and that's primarily around staple strength. The decreased income of $1 to $4 per DSE is out of 2008, and as you would all know, there's been significant wool price increases since then, but also our sheep meat prices have improved since then. So that $1 to $4 per DSE is a pretty conservative figure.
Thank you for watching this short clip. For more information, please visit www.leadingsheep.com.au.